Hello everyone. So welcome to this channel, and we are going to start with the human reproduction part 4. Now in this part we are going to deal with what already what we have discussed. Let me first tell you, we have discussed about how now when the sperm comes in the vicinity of the egg, uh, what are the changes that takes place, how it fuses, about cortical reaction, how it prevents fast block, slow block polyspermy. We talked about egg activation. See, egg activation, why this egg activation has to be done. So this has to be done. Why? Because we have seen that in case of egg activation, the egg was in a state of arrest. Now it has to move from that state of arrest, and it has to move in the direction where it is destined to go. Now, and it has been seen that one of the most important now mineral for releasing from egg activation is your calcium ion. Calcium ion is also responsible for cortical reactions. Okay, calcium is a very important mineral in our body, which as you must have read also, they are involved in your muscular contraction and all. So they play a very important role, in your body. Even in this reaction, I won't be going into too deep, because in this reaction also, what the calcium is doing, it's causing activation. As you know, calcium plays many role in signal transaction. So via signal transaction method, they are releasing the egg from that uh, arrested state, and the cell is completing its meiosis too. Okay, and in this, now it has been seen the egg can be even activated even in absence of nucleus. Only what is required is high level of calcium and the cytoplasmic proteins and messenger RNA. And egg activation, we can see that they start synthesizing the respiratory enzymes. Okay, and all protein synthesis starts in them. So this is how now the egg activation takes place. Once it gets activated, now after the fusion, zygote, then starts cleavage. Already we have discussed about it. We have also discussed about it, about how now development of that embryo takes place from your now single cell zygote to your now 32 cell stage of your blastula. It gets implanted, and the formation of your placenta. So moving on forward, I will show you one pic of placenta. Just have a look at it. Now the placenta has been taken out after the childbirth, and you can see what you have read earlier, that they consist of what. This is your umbilical cord, as it is very clear from the diagram. I hope the diagram is very clear to you. Okay, so you can see this is the umbilical cord, and how now you have read about the veins of the child now takes blood, and arteries bring sorry arteries takes the blood which is having waste of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and the veins bring the blood back. Okay, so all this we have seen. Okay, now moving on. So now let's come and talk about placental hormones. Still we are on placenta. That is, let us see about human chorionic gonadotrophin. Okay, now this SCG, what it does, now it is released from your placenta. Okay, and what it does basically, it is causing the, it stimulates your corpus luteum to secrete now estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and initially estrogen and progesterone now from placenta is not released. It is released from your corpus luteum, but the structure is very small and it cannot support pregnancy for long. Okay, so after a few weeks of pregnancy, you find that your placenta starts secreting, and this corpus luteum is maintained till trimester. Okay, and now if you look at estrogen and progesterone, estrogen is very important for the development of your what, muscles. Okay, in the uterus, and progesterone is also very important because it is preventing the contractions. Okay, and these two, both the hormones are very important, as they play now they act on the anterior pituitary, and they prevent and they prevent release of FSH and LH, so that the next cycle doesn't begin. Okay, and we can see that they are also now bringing changes in the development in the mother. And one thing more, that HCG is a hormone which is used for detecting what, pregnancy, as you already know about it. Okay, so this estrogen, as I have talked about, and progesterone, they are very important hormones. And there are another two hormones which you see is your human placental lactogen. This placental lactogen is what, this is released, from your placenta, and they are responsible for development of what, of your breast. Okay, so that the mothers will start lactating after the birth of the child. And relaxin is also very important for preventing, what it does, it will act on pubic symphysis. It prevents, first of all, the muscular contraction, okay, of your uterus. And secondly, what it does, it, during the labor time, your pubic symphysis needs some amount of flexibility, which is provided by this relaxing. And remember one thing, that all these hormones, especially human placental lactogen and relaxin and human gonadotropin, they are released only during the time of what, during the time of pregnancy. Okay, and all these hormones are very important for what, for fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, so there are a lot of changes are taking place in the mother's body. Okay, so metabolic changes in mother's body, in mother's body. Okay, and they are also important for what, for maintenance of your pregnancy. So they are causing all these three changes: fetal growth, now metabolic changes in the mother, and the maintenance of the pregnancy. Okay, so now let's move on from these hormones. Let's look on about how the parturition, at the time of parturition, what is going to happen. Now, what is parturition? First, let us see. Parturition is what, is the giving birth, no, is called as parturition. And the events that happens is called as labor during that time. Okay, now if you look at this parturition, there is a combined signal which goes from the fully grown embryo, and what, from the this fully grown embryo is there, which is giving signal, as it is acting on the stretch of your, they are stretching your uterus. So it is a kind of a mechanism which is called as what, it is called as neuroendocrine mechanism. What mechanism we call it as, we call it as neuroendocrine mechanism, because during this time, what is happening, now your posterior pituitary is releasing a huge amount of what, oxytocin it will be releasing. Okay, and this phenomenon is called as fetal rejection reflex. What do we call it as, we call it as fetal rejection reflex. So there are two things which is acting. One is the growth of your what, this fetus. Okay, so what do we see here, that there is increased ratio of estrogen and progesterone at the end of the third trimester. Okay, third trimester means 9 months. Okay, now increased contractibility of uterine muscles, okay, happen at this time. Okay, increased uterine contraction is happening at this time. So this, when this fetus is now growing and putting pressure on the uterus, then it is giving a neuronal signal to your brain to release the hypothalamus is from the posterior pituitary. Okay, so here what do you find, that there is an increased no, pressure on the fetal head on the cervix region. Okay, and then here the nervous system communicates uterine to stretch, uterine stretching to hypothalamus, that the uterine is stretching, which I told you. And then what is happening, that the uterus will your hypothalamus will give the message to your posterior pituitary. Okay, and posterior pituitary will release what, it will release huge amount of your oxytocin. It will release what, it will release oxytocin. Oxytocin. Okay, it will release oxytocin, and this oxytocin will go and back act on your uterine. It will cause uterine contraction, and this uterine contraction will again cause the give signal to your posterior pituitary to release more and more oxytocin, and therefore this kind of feedback mechanism is called as what, we call it as positive feedback. What do we call it? We call it as positive feedback. Because in negative feedback, you should understand what is happening. The end product is inhibiting. Like here, increased estrogen and progesterone level was what doing earlier? They were inhibiting the FSH and LH release. Okay, they were not causing more and more release, but here what is causing, the end result is causing the release of more and more oxytocin. So this is called as positive feedback mechanism. Okay, so there is a what, a neuronal and an endocrine mechanism. So at the end of the third trimester, there is an increased ratio of estrogen and progesterone, and that causes what, increased contractility of your uterine muscles. Okay, and which generates this mechanism. Okay, and we will look just a figure I have I'm showing you. You can have a look ki how the uterus is contracting and trying to push the baby through the cervix. It will open, and through vagina it will going to come out. You can see here that there is a mucus plug here, and this is the cervix, and the head comes first. Why does the head comes first? Because generally the head comes first. If the head comes first, then what happens, this is the area which is if you look at the baby, which is the broadest area. Okay, if it comes, and then if you are able to take out the baby, then by pulling out you can take out the baby. But suppose from the leg, if the baby comes, okay, so this neck region is what, this neck region is very the diameter of that will become very less. Okay, because this is thinner and this is wider, so at the chances are there that the neck can be clogged, okay, of the child, and uh, the child can die also in that case. Many a times it has been seen that this umbilical cord gets wrapped around the neck of the child. So there are many complications when the leg moves first. Okay, so both the cases occur, but mostly we find that the head, in most of the cases the head comes first. And now doctors, what they do, if they find that the child is having this leg is moving forward first, then they go for the cesarean case. Okay, so we will move on. Okay, I asked you people, do you know how many placenta? So umbilical cords, you know, each person has its own navel cord, and therefore each will have its own umbilical cord. Okay, now moving on to the this your mammary gland. Okay, you know that this mammary gland is what, structurally it is what, it is you can say related to the skin. It is related to which, it is related to your skin, but functionally, yes, it's a reproductive system. It produces milk. Okay, so structurally related to skin and functionally related to milk production. and it is, as you can see, it is just anterior to your pectoris major muscles, and you can see it has got what, adipose tissue also. Okay, and you can see these lactiferous glands are there. Okay, and here due to in this case human placental lactogen, it causes the development of your mammary glands. Okay, during pregnancy, so that they become capable of producing milk. Okay, and you can see here, this is these are the ducts. Okay, these are the ducts through which the milk will come out. Okay, and this is the dark pigmented area which we call as areola. Okay, now moving on to the milk production, how milk is ejected in the okay, let's first look at the glands, and then we will look at that how milk is ejected in the child. Now if you look at hormones which affect your mammary glands are your estrogen. Okay, and you know that estrogen is released from both your ovary and your placenta. Okay, now it promotes what, growth of the duct system. That's why we said that these hormones are very important in a fetal growth, changes, metabolic changes in the mother's body, isn't it? So you can see the changes that it is bringing into the mother body. It is promoting the growth of the duct system. Okay, progesterone is causing what, growth of secondary cells in them, so that more and more milk can be produced. Then prolactin promotes production of the milk. You know the role of prolactin is that, and from where it is released, anterior pituitary, don't forget that. And oxytocin is released from your posterior pituitary. You know that posterior pituitary releases only two hormones. Okay, oxytocin and ADH. So promotes what, release of milk. Now we will look at how milk ejection takes place. Now if you look at now, milk let down is a reflex action, and that is called as what, a suckling reflex. And again, this is a neuroendocrine reflex. Okay, because here wherever your muscles will be involved, and the signal is going to the brain, and from there it is coming, therefore it is what, it is a neuronal reflex also. So what do we see? When the babies, they suckle the breast, therefore initially when milk doesn't comes, it is suggested that the suckling is done on the mother's breast. The child is allowed to suckle. Okay, that suckling causes what, you know, it causes what, it causes sensory impulse generation. Okay, which goes via spinal cord through your what, to your hypothalamus. This efferent are your sensory, remember that. Okay, and they cause what, uh, this hypothalamus, now from it acts on your anterior pituitary to release what, prolactin. Okay, and prolactin causes what, milk secretion. Okay, it causes increase in the milk production. Okay, and this hypothalamus also causes what, release, you know, acts on your posterior pituitary and causes oxytocin secretion. Okay, now this will cause what, milk ejection. Okay, contraction of your myoepithelial cells will cause what, ejection of the milk. So this is how we can see the suckling reflex is there. So as the child suckles, what happens, the milk starts coming out from the mother's uh, breast. Okay, so with this uh, we have completed our human reproduction. In the next videos I will be coming with your contraceptive devices. Okay, what are the different methodologies that is adopted, and methods. Okay, and if and in the next video I will cover up your what, your different no, techniques to deal with your anti infertility cases. Okay, so with this, thank you, and keep watching. God bless you all.